If you are reading this while on duty at Cedar Ridge General, do not, under any circumstances, check the pulse of the person working the station next to you. I did it as a joke during a 3 a.m. coffee break, and I haven't stopped shivering since I realized Julian's heart has been silent for 3 days while he continued to chart my vitals with surgical precision. We were in the cramped break room of the Vermont facility, the wind howling against the reinforced glass like a starving animal trying to claw its way in. Julian, my senior resident, was leaning against the vending machine, his skin looking particularly sallow under the fluorescent hum. "You look like a corpse, Julian," I chuckled, reaching for his wrist in a mock medical exam to break the tension of our 30-hour shift. I pressed my fingers into the radial artery, expecting the steady thrum of a man over-caffeinated on hospital espresso. Nothing. I moved to the carotid, my own heart hammering against my ribs. There was no rhythm, just a cold, stagnant stillness that felt like touching refrigerated wax. Julian didn't flinch. He just smiled, a slow, peeling gesture that didn't reach his glazed eyes. "It's just the Vermont winter, Silas," he whispered, his breath smelling of wintergreen and something sickly sweet, like rotting lilies. "The cold gets into your bones and slows everything down. You'll see." I forced a laugh, my mind desperately constructing a logical wall. Maybe he had a rare condition. Maybe I was just too exhausted to find a pulse. Relief washed over me for a fleeting second. It was just fatigue. But that relief shattered an hour later when I slipped into the basement archives to find the morning's autopsy list. There, under the entry for October 12th, was Julian Reed. Cause of death, massive internal hemorrhaging following a multi-car pileup on I-89. I stared at the paper until the ink seemed to vibrate. My mind scrambled. This had to be a different Julian Reed, or perhaps a cruel hazing ritual by the pathology department. Julian was just upstairs. I'd seen him. He was talking. Dead men don't talk. I rushed to the head nurse, Clara, my breath coming in ragged, shallow gasps. I pointed at the list with a trembling hand, but Clara didn't even look up from her paperwork. She just sighed and pulled out the living staff ledger. "It's a clerical glitch, Silas," she said, her voice as smooth as silk. "Look here, Julian Reed. Status? Active." For a moment, I believed her. I wanted to believe her. I reached out to touch the ledger, desperate for the solid reality of paper. But as my finger brushed the entry, the ink smeared. It was thick, warm. It smelled of copper and irony. It was fresh human blood. Before I could scream, the intercom crackled with a distorted metallic screech. "Dr. Silas, Julian is requesting your assistance in OR3 immediate." I walked toward the surgical wing, noticing for the first time how the hallway lights weren't just flickering, they were pulsing in time with my own frantic heartbeat, as if the building were breathing through the electricity. There were no sirens outside, no distant city hum, no sounds of the living world, just a heavy, tomb-like silence. Inside OR3, Julian was already scrubbed in, his movements jerky and mechanical. As he leaned over the patient, a torrent of grayish-yellow embalming fluid erupted from his mouth, splashing into the patient's open, bloodless chest. He didn't stop. He didn't even wipe his chin. I looked at the patient and realized he wasn't breathing either. He was staring at the ceiling with wide, milky eyes. I backed away, stumbling toward the window. The town of Blackwood Creek was gone. No lights, no cars, just a frozen, endless graveyard stretching into the horizon under a black moon. The hospital was a self-sustaining engine of the dead, a lighthouse for the departed, and it was using my living heart as a battery to maintain the illusion of a functioning world. I felt a cold, heavy hand on my shoulder. It was Clara.
Her jawline was peeling away, revealing gray, stringy muscle and yellowed bone. "It's just the clock, Silas," she rasped, her voice sounding like dry leaves skittering on pavement. "The 13th hour is beginning. Your shift is eternal now." I checked my own pulse then. It was still there, a lonely, terrified drumbeat in the dark. But as I look down at my hands to type this, the skin under my nails is turning a bruised, permanent gray. The air in the room has dropped so low that my own breath is crystallizing into shards of ice that refuse to melt on the floor. I am still breathing, but I can no longer remember why.